Yes. Would you want it over a table? I don't care where you put her, as long as it's not hanging. Yeah. You can lay it next to Tanya. We'll take care of it.
Yeah, this is supposed to be a demonstration of safe infant care techniques, not putting them out there, Doc. You ready? Cliff, you ready? Or was all this already running? Great. Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry for a little bit of the confusion here to start. Our director of our Bureau of Health is out today, so I will be leading the presentation today. And it's a very important presentation on sudden infant death syndrome, or also now sudden unexpected infant death is another term that is being used. But this is some of the most tragic occurrences in our country and across the world. It's hard to imagine, as a father myself, that you lay your baby down and you think everything is okay, or you even fall asleep with your baby and think everything is okay, and suddenly you wake up and your beloved daughter or son is just gone from this earth. It's a horrible, horrible thing to imagine, and unfortunately, it occurs over 3,500 times in families across the country every year. And it is something that, while not 100% preventable, there are still some instances where people just don't know why it's happening. There are many things you can do to make changes in your care of your infant that will reduce astronomically the chances of this horrible thing happening in your home. Certainly, when I was a father of a newborn, it was hard for me to not sleep with my baby on my chest. It was hard for me to not sleep in the bed next to my baby. But when you learn about what your risk is by doing something that seems loving, it seems compassionate, but at the same time we can do things that seem right, that seem loving, that can cause a horrible tragedy. And this is one of the cases. So I'm really going to kick it over to our coroner, who has to determine these causes of deaths and explain it to the families and explain it to the public why these horrible things happen. With that, our York County Coroner, Pam Gay, and our soon-to-be new County Coroner, Tanya Zek.
Yes, thank you.
So please.
Thank you. Obviously, this is always a very sad type of, all our deaths are unexpected, needless to say, but there are some deaths that are the hardest. And I would say children dying is definitely something that really speaks to us. And we have our own children and grandchildren, needless to say. But when children die in such a manner that could be wholly preventable, it's really difficult for us to see this. And we want to get the message out to the public of how this is highly preventable, and we can all work together to spread the communication of better, safe sleep. When we come to these scenes, we often come to the home or the hospital. That's usually one of those two places. And obviously the family is very distressed. They've just had the worst incident of their whole life that they're dealing with. Sometimes there's a lot of guilt, but it can be very hard for them, hard for us, because we're trying to be strong for them and also try to talk about things. We ask them a lot of questions about how the baby was put down, how the baby was found, that kind of thing. That helps the doctors when they're actually doing the autopsy. All these babies have an autopsy. And the doctors can kind of have a better understanding of what the factors that were involved in the circumstances leading to the death. And so it's our job to do the investigation and make sure that all those factors are clear to the doctor as much as possible. I think, many of our families are, while they're distraught, we're asking them some really tough questions. Sometimes we're even having them reenact the scene. That's actually something that, while traumatic for the families, can also give the doctors some indication as to what type of death occurred. But most of these situations are co-sleeping or an unsafe sleep environment. So they either, maybe the baby was fussy, they decide to bring the baby in on the couch with them or into bed with them to try and feed it. And I always think back to what Dr. Goodstein says, and he'll probably say this much better than me, but he talks about how those few minutes of fussiness that we tend to want to try and, calm the baby and get them to go back to sleep. But then what happens is a lot of times the parent falls asleep too. And so those few minutes are not worth an eternity of visiting your child at the graveside. And that, when I heard him say that the first time, that really impacted me, and how true that is, I think the other thing that we sometimes deal with is generational type of biases to some extent, when families never had it happen in their family. And, we always co-slept, and we always brought the baby in with us and did, tried to calm them down so they could fall asleep. But the truth is, those biases are really dangerous, and it can actually lead to the baby's death, because there's all kinds of evidence and data that support that when we started talking about safe sleep, babies being alone on their back in a crib, that the SIDS and SUDI deaths basically decreased drastically, but they still go on year after year. I think we were just talking in my tenure, my 12 years as coroner, I don't recall ever having a year go by where we didn't have some sort of sleep-related death. How great it would be for Tanya and the years ahead and Dr. Goodstein and this whole community to finally have a year without a sleep-related infant death. That would be amazing. While they're down this year, they're still very much a problem. We've had 2 this year, but we had 6 last year. It fluctuates. We can have some years where they're better and some years where they're not. But the education component is all so important, and that's why we don't tire, and we continue to get up here every year and try to decrease the incidence, or at least have a year with no deaths. That would be amazing. So we're going to keep plugging away at the message. Again, while we are kind of the somber side and the hard reality, the truth is it is a reality, and it happens here in our own community. Sometimes even with folks who have medical knowledge, who are the parents, which is like amazing, or people that have signed off at the hospital that they've seen the videos and they know about the danger. So we want to just keep getting that message out so that hopefully people will stop doing this and make sure that their baby's in a safe sleep environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Coroner. And this is, I think, your point about the generations and the risk. That's really important, because when you have something, I mean, we have 800 to 900 babies a year here in the city. Just here in the city. And you're talking about 3,500 across the country. That's not very many percentage-wise. It's the ultimate number individual-wise. So as a person who kind of likes to do things that are a little risky, climbing, rock climbing, snorkeling, out in the ocean, all kinds of things that might seem risky, I'm only risking myself. And maybe somebody would miss me if I went away, but the risk of your own infant baby, that's not worth the comfort that you think you may be gaining, or an argument with your parents or your mother-in-law or grandparents about, oh, this is proper, it's proper to sleep. It's better to sleep with your baby because then they get your energy. I've heard it. I've literally heard this, that, you want your babies to feel close to you. And that is an important thing. We know that breastfeeding is a very important connection. We know that just touching a mother and father is a very important connection, but not during sleep time. During sleep time, there are very specific things that you must do to keep your baby safe. And we are going to learn more about those. Thank you. Coming from WellSpan, Dr. Goldstein is going to now educate us some. But before he does, I want to make sure that I share with him so he can take it back to our wonderful partners at WellSpan. You can come up while I do this. The proclamation for Sudden Infant Death Syndrome Awareness Month. Whereas sudden infant death syndrome is the leading cause of death in infants from 1 month to 1 year of age, with most deaths occurring between 2 and 4 months. Whereas in 2024, approximately 100 infants were reported to have died of sudden infant death syndrome in Pennsylvania. And whereas most infants die of sudden infant death syndrome while sleeping with no signs of suffering, and whereas sudden infant death syndrome is sudden, silent, and unpredictable, but there are safe sleep measures that reduce the risk of sudden infant death syndrome. And whereas since the start of the National Back to Sleep campaign in 1996, the number of babies dying of sudden infant death syndrome has decreased by more than 50%. Whereas it is recommended that infants under 1 year of age be placed on their backs to sleep to lower the risk of sudden infant death syndrome, and whereas the York City Bureau of Health, along with sudden infant death syndrome advocates throughout this Commonwealth, are committed to enhancing the lives of infants by providing education, awareness, and advocacy on the issues of sudden infant death syndrome and infant safe sleep. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Michael R. Helfrich, Mayor of the City of York, Pennsylvania, do hereby proclaim October 25 as Sudden Infant Death Syndrome Awareness Month. Thank you, Doctor.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for being here to attend this important event. As the mayor said, my name is Dr. Michael Goodstein. I'm a neonatologist here at WellSpan York Hospital, and I serve on the American Academy of Pediatrics Subcommittee on SUID, formerly known as the Task Force on SIDS. I've also been the director of the York County Cribs for Kids program since its inception in 2003. The term sudden unexpected infant death, or SUID, is used to describe when an infant dies from any sudden and unexpected death, whether explained or unexplained. This includes SIDS, suffocation and strangulation in bed, and undetermined causes. This tragically affects about 3,600 infants every year, 105 deaths in PA for 2023, latest data available. The death of a healthy baby. I can't think of anything much worse than that. That is 3,600 babies too many. Each of these babies has a name. For the parents, it is a nightmare that never ends. For every person who's ever touched that baby, either physically or figuratively, whether it be a relative, childcare provider, friend, nurse, physician, or other person, it is a tragedy that stays with them for a very, very long time. I want to share my colleague's story. Charlie was a healthy, beautiful baby, perfect in every way. Who could ask for better parents? His father was a pediatrician. His mother was a kindergarten teacher. They thought they had a leg up on taking care of a new baby. He was their joy and pride, and like any new parents, they doted on him, taking photographs, feeding him, burping him, diapering him, swaddling him, and loving him, providing for his every need. Like any healthy newborn, Charlie woke up frequently through the night for feedings and cares. And as expected, this took a toll in terms of sleep deprivation for his parents. One evening, when Charlie was fussing, his father went to soothe him and let his wife get some sleep. He held his son on the couch while watching TV. How many photos have we all seen of a parent having accidentally fallen asleep while holding their infant on a couch? But when my colleague woke up, Charlie did not. In that one moment, this family's life trajectory was changed forever. My colleague changed from sleep-deprived parent to grieving one, Every notion of how life was supposed to play out was changed forever. And even though it's been 10 years since Charlie died, they still continue to feel the pain from the impact of that night. 3,600 babies. One infant dying every 2 hours of every day of the year. These deaths occur in every state, affecting every race and every socioeconomic group. In fact, sleep-related infant death kills more American children than opioids, gun violence, or suicide. Yet this remains a silent killer that nobody talks about. If there were a defective engine in school buses and every week a bus exploded and killed all the children on it, we as a society would not tolerate this. We would scream from the rooftops for change. Outrage is appropriate when children die. We simply cannot remain silent about this. Parents love their children and they want to do what's best for them. In order to make childcare decisions, we need to have good information so we can properly assess the risk and benefits in the things we choose to do and those we choose to avoid. We hold our child's hand when we walk across a busy intersection. We worry when our teens take the car out because we all hear stories of driving too fast or drinking and driving or texting while driving. But many people don't understand the risks involved with unsafe sleep environments because they don't have information. So let's talk about it. Studies show that 90% of sudden unexplained infant death cases in the U.S. occur in infants within the first 6 months of life, with a peak at 1 to 2 months. Up to 95% of these deaths occur in an unsafe sleep environment, and over half occur in an adult bed. So what can we as parents and caregivers do to help prevent tragedy and make sure our babies are being put to sleep in the safest way possible? Well, at WellSpan, each of our hospitals is Safe Sleep certified, which means that our maternity staff are trained about infant sleep safety. It means we counsel our families on safe sleep practices and high-risk behaviors that factor into sleep-related deaths. We have them watch a video on safe sleep, and we also give each family a wearable blanket and a safe sleep board book. When parents and caregivers have information on safe sleep standards, then they can protect their babies at home. Additionally, WellSpan is working with leading SIDS researchers to learn how to best provide critical safe sleep education to new families, especially during the first 2 months of life after delivery, to help reinforce safe sleep practices during this vulnerable time period in the infant's life. I'd like to share 3 things to remember to give a baby the safest sleep while decreasing the likelihood of sudden infant death. First, I'd like you to remember the phrase, "back is best." Babies should always be placed on their backs on a firm, non-inclined surface like we have over there, and that nothing else should be in the crib with that baby. That means no toys, no stuffed animals, no blankets, bumpers, soft bedding. Sitting devices like car seats, strollers, swings, infant carriers, and infant slings are not recommended for routine sleep, especially for infants younger than 4 months of age. Car seats, especially when straps are open, can lead to entanglement and strangulation. When you reach your destination, if your infant is asleep, remove him or her from the car seat and move to a crib or appropriate flat surface. Sometimes I'm asked if a baby can't have a blanket, won't he or she get cold? This is where I recommend either dressing their layers or using an infant sleep sack or wearable blanket. Overheating, overbundling, and head coverings are all associated with increased SIDS risk. No need to wear a hat for sleep. Keep the room temperature comfortable. Some sleepers come with a swaddle. Swaddling does not protect against SIDS, but it can be a useful technique for calming fussy babies. Swaddling must always be done with the baby on the back, and when the infant tries to start to roll over, usually around 3 to 4 months of age, then swaddling is no longer appropriate because it could increase the risk of the baby suffocating if they flip over and can't turn back again. Weighted clothing and swaddles and objects on or near the baby are not recommended. Second thing I want you to remember is room share, don't bed share. The American Academy of Pediatrics advises babies should sleep in the same room as their parents or caregiver for at least the first 6 months. It decreases the chance of SIDS by 50%. Babies should sleep on a crib, bassinet, or portable crib or play yard that follows federal safety standards. Bed sharing significantly raises the risk of a baby's injury or death, and the AAP does not support bed sharing under any circumstances. Let me share some of the statistics with you. The most dangerous place for a baby to sleep is on a couch or soft armchair or cushion, the risk of SIDS increases 67 times, not 67%, but 67 times. The babies get wedged into the cushions over parents, and we've seen that here in York County. When an infant sleeps with someone who is impaired because of fatigue or uses medications or substance like alcohol or illicit drugs, or is a smoker, the risks of SIDS with bed sharing is 10-fold higher. When an infant is under 4 months of age or is sharing the sleep surface with someone other than the parent, or is a preterm or low birth weight infant, regardless of other factors, the risk is 5 to 10 times higher. In my own routine practice, I ask parents how and where their baby is going to be sleeping. I try to understand parents' concerns, and then we can create a plan together. Some families may share a bed due to cultural preferences or to facilitate breastfeeding. Sometimes parents unintentionally fall asleep in the bed with the baby. I encourage families to have a plan if they bring the baby into bed to create a just-in-case space. If their bedroom is not big enough for a crib, a portable crib might be a good solution. If a mother just had a cesarean delivery and has difficulty with mobility, I suggest that they move the portable crib right up to the edge of the bed so that it's easier to get to the baby. If a parent is worried about the baby's legs getting stuck in the crib slats, I suggest that they use a sleep sack which keeps their legs contained. The third thing I want you to take away from today about safe sleep is that breastfeeding is recommended. Breastfeeding reduces the risk of SIDS. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that babies be fed with human milk exclusively for about 6 months, and then it should be part of an older infant's diet up to 2 years of age if desired. At WellSpan, we offer new mothers availability to lactation consultants and various support groups and classes to help facilitate their breastfeeding journey. It's important to note that any amount of human milk feeding is better than none, and benefits rise with the duration of human milk feeding. If you give your baby breast milk for 2 months, it reduces the risk of SIDS by 50%. For 6 months, it reduces it by 2/3. There are many families that are unable or choose not to feed human milk, so it's important not to judge those who decide not to breastfeed. What else can we do as parents and caregivers? Keep your baby up to date on immunizations. Offer a pacifier at sleep time. Babies and parents should avoid exposure to nicotine, alcohol, marijuana, opioids, and illicit drugs. There's a direct correlation between the amount of cigarette exposure and the risk of SIDS during the pregnancy. So if mothers didn't smoke while they were pregnant, 1/3 of SIDS cases would just disappear. Avoid using commercial devices that claim to reduce the risk of SIDS and other sleep-related deaths. There's no evidence that any of these devices reduce the risk of these deaths. This could provide a false sense of security for the parents and caregivers. Do not use home cardiorespiratory monitors as a strategy to reduce the risk of SIDS. Wearable monitors are not approved as being able to prevent a baby from dying. It'll tell you something is going on, but it won't prevent it from happening. So these monitors are not a substitute for safe sleep practices. Supervise awake tummy time. This will help facilitate infant development, and I encourage parents to place the infant on tummy time while awake and supervise for short periods of time. And this can begin soon after your baby is born when you return home from the hospital. You can increase the amount of tummy time to up to 15 to 30 minutes a day by the time the baby is 7 weeks old. For more information on safe infant sleep safety, go to the AAP parents web support page, healthychildren.org. There's Healthy Children WellSpan. Cribs for Kids has lots of great information. And talk to your doctor or provider. I would like to finish by summarizing my experiences at the International SIDS Conference, which is held every 2 years and is coming up later this week. Scientists and SIDS families gather from around the world to discuss the latest research on SIDS. It is exciting to hear about the progress we are making towards understanding the cause of these tragedies. But the most touching part of the meeting is hearing from the families who have suffered the unthinkable. They share the memories of their precious ones lost but never forgotten, a reminder of why we carry out the research, a beacon of hope for families who have recently lost a child, and a message to all families to please, please take precautions to reduce the chance of this happening to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Goodstein. This is just such an emotional topic. I was back there, and I can see you reliving things, because that's another thing. This is something that never, ever, ever goes away for a family. And there are things, especially when you know there are things you could do or could have done differently. Not everybody knows about these things, so I hope, I do believe that this will be airing on multiple platforms. Cliff, I think we got it on the Bureau of Health Facebook page, right? Oh, on the City of York page. We'll get it on the Bureau of Health too. But feel free to reach out to us. I want to thank all the folks that work at our Bureau of Health, particularly today with the maternal child health care group. As I mentioned earlier, we have about 800 to 900 babies born in the city every year. Our folks meet and help take care of 300 of those mothers and newborn children. I know Family First helps out with more. I believe WellSpan helps out with more as well. So if you are expecting or know somebody who is expecting, feel free to reach out to us, particularly if you live in the city, reach out directly to us. You can get service from others if you live outside of the city. But also, the important thing about today is that this is Awareness Month. There are folks out there that do not know this. If you know somebody who is pregnant or who has just recently given birth, send them this link. Let Dr. Goodstein, Dr. Goodstein's information get out there to the people that need it most. Help your family, help your friends, help your neighbors, and let's save lives together. Thank you. And do we have any questions from anyone out there? Okay, love each other, take care of each other. Thank you.